All right, day 4 of 100, Higher Up Wellness Public Speaking Challenge to improve my articulation and communication skills. Today's gonna be kind of a niche one. I'm gonna talk about VO2 max and heart rate zones for runners and for cyclists. So I did a comparison against Garmin watch, Whoop, and an Apple Watch, against a lab assessment where you wear the cardiograph on your chest and the face mask, and wanted to calibrate kind of how off these different things were. So I did one back in 2024 before, kind of at the beginning stages, when I was kind of in my marathon phase of that was my main goal, was marathon. And I came in at a 58.8, and on the lab assessment, Garmin watch had me at a 55, and the Apple Watch had me at a 56.7. I then got the test done a year later and got it done at Run Unlimited over in St. Pete. Shout out to Sean, awesome guy, awesome place. Definitely would recommend checking them out. But a year later, with consistent running, prioritizing zone 2 and speed work, I was able to get my VO2 max up to 64.5. So when I did it that time, my Apple Watch came in at a 61.9, my Garmin came in at a 59.5, and my Whoop came in at a 45. So Whoop was way off, so it's like 20 points off. Garmin is roughly 3 to 5 points off, and surprisingly, Apple was the most accurate compared to the actual lab assessment. So all of that stuff doesn't really mean all that much. What I'll say is, at the time when I ran my fastest marathon, which was 3 hours and 19 minutes, my VO2 per my Garmin had me measured in at 62 VO2 max. So theoretically, I didn't get a VO2 lab assessment done at that time. My VO2 at that time, if it was 3 to 5 points higher, would have had me at a 65 to 67. Now, there's a lot of other things that come into play here, so I wouldn't really take your VO2 worth a grain of salt. It's more of a bragging rights thing, I feel like. That's my perspective of it. I see people brag about having a high VO2 max. But the reason I got the assessment done was because I wanted to get more personalized data on what my actual heart rate zones were. So any wearable device that you've got is going to give generic default heart rate zone settings. So arbitrarily speaking, a Garmin could have you at 120 to like 145 for zone 2, whereas maybe that's actually not really that close to what you need. It's gonna this assessment's gonna give you a breakdown of all of the different heart rate zones that you want. That's important because I always, and most successful runners will kind of phase their training around running different percentages in different heart rate zones. So it's pretty common out there. If you're doing long distance stuff, you want to be running about 80% of your runs in zone 2, and then the other 20% in tempo runs and speed work. So speed work being a bit like maybe 10%. But if those numbers are off, you're kind of spinning your wheels. Again, really not all that important. I'm getting really granular into this, but just kind of sharing the stats that I did when I kind of tested all of these devices against one another. So if you are a serious runner, I would recommend going and getting that done. Again, Run Unlimited over in St. Pete. They do those tests, and they do lactate threshold. I have not done a lactate threshold test. I've only ever seen what the lactate threshold is on my Garmin, but be really curious how they do that. Sean told me that when they do that, they do something where you have to like get a blood prick, so they do that on your ear, something as you're running. But really cool. Definitely want to try that here soon. I'm just kind of now getting back into my whole running stage, so I want to kind of get my cardio back up a little bit here before I go and disappoint myself with the low score on any of this stuff. Past couple months, I've been primarily prioritizing body recomposition, so I've really cut out a lot of cardio, but I'm training for a high rocks right now, so getting back into the swing of things.